When was Prime Studio established? What was the idea?
Actually, when my partner Björn Heitze and me met quite a long time ago, we decided to keep the analog way of production alive at a time when a lot of studios switched over to digital production, and at a time when the industry had a lot of changes within. So a lot of studios closed, and a lot of people said, okay, you're trying to build up a studio, good luck with that. And yeah, we kept going our way, and we planned to build up a complete new environment for good recordings, measured rooms, everything you need to have the clients being happy. And we started the production of the studio, the building construction work in 2006. And it took us approximately 1.5 years to build up the whole studio as it is now. And of course, it is still evolving, equipment changes. And of course, we are also not only producing analog stuff, we're of course on the pulse of time and do digital things. As you can imagine, a studio is never quite finished. It is always changing. And this is, of course, important. It was opened in 2008, finally, in June. And since then, we're here in Mils producing different kind of stuff. We're offering online services, mixing, mastering. We're working together with Acustica Audio on the digital side for doing plugins and a lot of other stuff.
Can you tell us the story of C Studio? The console inside was actually used for the Pink Floyd album.
Actually, we decided quite a few years after having built the studio complex to build a specific room for mastering purposes. So the control room we have there is really specially built for this purpose. And at that time, we had the chance to acquire one of the two winged EMI TG12345 Mark Q desks, which formerly were at Abbey Road Studios. And the console was across the pond. It was in California in the United States. And through our network and good connections, it happened that we got the chance to acquire it. And it took us quite a long time to get it here and to set it up properly. And we wanted to keep it as original as possible. So, of course, we changed capacitors and stuff, but the overall console is as it was. And the only thing we changed is we changed the furniture of it. So it had originally it had a teak furniture, which we still have, but we wanted it to be adapted to the room and to fit into our mastering room's design. So that's the only thing we adapted to the console. And Studio C is purpose built for having a monitoring system which is quite unique. We can talk that about later anyway. And as you asked for if the console has been used on Pink Floyd, yes, it has. It was used in the sessions when a lot of recordings were done for The Wall. So it's not the one that did Dark Side of the Moon. This is the sister console, which is now also privately owned, which is quite funny because it was a long time also in Europe, and the second console now is across the pond in America, privately owned. So it is kept very well, and our console is, to our knowledge, the only winged desk that is still in existence that is in a daily studio use. There are, of course, straight versions of the TT series in different studios across the world. Only a handful because not a lot of them have been made. And we're very proud to use this specific kind of equipment, which prints a very characteristically sound to either recordings, mixings, or of course also masterings.
We know that at C Studio there's an esoteric speaker system. Can you tell us the story?
Yes, of course. As we've talked before, the purpose of Studio C is being a specific mastering room, and we wanted to have really a flat response curve for the monitoring system there. So we have done a lot of searching for a specific monitoring system that we could use down there. And a lot of brands we have tested and listened to. And finally, we came up with the idea contacting Surroundtech in Germany. It's a small manufacturer of hi-fi systems. We first met him years ago at an AAS show in Vienna, showcasing his new curved speaker systems. And the speciality about the system is that you have a complete phase coherent linear listening situation. So this is really important to do masterings in the room. So you can even do work on half dB steps and listen to the music you're working on, absolutely really focused. And so this system really is way different than other systems that you may come across in other mastering studios. And we wanted to have a different system also because a lot of studios use the same monitoring systems, which is of course good and okay. Normally a mastering studio is run by one or two mastering engineers who are really familiar with their room, with their equipment, and of course with the monitoring system. So it was the decision was not to have a monitoring system that a lot of people would be used to, as you would have in a mixing room, but a specific system that we would really focus on and we are used to finish our work there. And it is esoteric, as you say, probably. I wouldn't say it's esoteric. We would say it's like an instrument, and every instrument needs to be cared of course. And we try to keep it up and running, up to specs all the time, of course. And the speciality is not only the curve design that gives the phase coherent monitoring situation, but also we do not have any equalizer that flattens the room between our DAW and the amplifier of the system. So it is really a straight signal coming out of the mastering chain directly to the speakers.
At A Studio, you have merged two Greek consoles, and we know that they have a specific story.
Yes, actually, we're here sitting in Studio A. Behind me, you can see two of the 8068 Neve Mark II consoles we have merged together. So it is one big desk. We have a specialty here. It's offering 72 channels of mixing capacity when you just look on the input side for recording. Everything is automated, so we have a flying fader system that is capable of doing that too. So I have 72 analog channels. And the board itself, the two boards do have a lot of history. The board to the right side is out of a former studio in New York. It did a lot of recordings like with Tina Turner and really famous American artists. And the board to the left is out of South Africa. It did a really nice job down there too, and we acquired it from a broker who is residing in London. We know him very well, and he said, well, okay, there's another Mark II console coming up because these are special. Mark IIs are not to be found a lot these times anymore. And we said, okay, is it in good shape, and what do we need to refurb, and so on. And finally, we decided to acquire it and get it here for what it is now. It's one of the biggest 86 consoles around the world. To my knowledge, there are only 3 more in existence about this size. There's one in Northern Europe, and there are another 2 as far as I know, in the United States, still up and running in studios. And we once had another 8068 here, which is not here anymore. We still have it, but it's not in studio use anymore. It is the Muscle Shoals desk, which was a Mark I 8068. And probably you have seen there's a very nice video documentation you can get by I think it's on Apple TV, and you can see who did recordings on that. So we have some of these EQs out of the Muscle Shoals, and the frame resides very well created and being kept for further refurbishment, but we didn't have the time to do that so far. So parts of it, of this desk, is also having Muscle Shoals history.
Studio A. The recording room has many large windows. Was it accidental or intentional for the sound?
Actually, yes, it was intentional. On the one hand, to get as much daylight as possible to the studio, because this is a thing that people always love when they do recordings, to have a nice atmosphere. They can calm down, they can really focus on their performance, and the more natural it is feeling, the better. And of course, it was also intentional for the sound. We have an asymmetrical shape of the recording room here, which gives us way more possibilities to shape the sound initially. So not by just choosing microphones, but by positioning things within the room. And having hard and reflective areas is also nice to play around with. So you can play with the early reflections you get that from. So the windows also offer some kind of pre-shaping the sound of a recording, of course, which is coming in handy for example, when doing drum recordings, to really get that echoey or smashy sound. But we have also like the baffles we can move around, and we can really shape also the area for being a dry recording area. So there are a lot of possibilities. So it was absolutely intentionally to have a lot of windows there to get reflective areas in the room.
You had the Neve Caribou console from Caribou Ranch, and you added a speaker system. What's the story?
Actually, the AT16 console, a classic Neve desk offering 24 channels and 16 listen back channels, was the first one we acquired from our vintage desks we have here at the studio. It offers quite unique detented pods on every channel, so you could nearly use it also for mastering. At the time when it was being built, it was really a handy feature, because you could more easily reset and re-switch things when you needed to recall a session. And it offers a 1064 Neve EQ, which is the predecessor of the 1081 actually. Very nice sounding, really rich and warm overtones, and the classic Neve sound as you would expect it. It also has a lot of history. The console has seen several productions at the time when it was residing at Caribou Ranch. And for quite a long time it was stored. And first of all, it has been a donation to a university in the United States from the previous owner of Caribou Ranch Studios. And after the use at the university, it rested, so to say. And when we started building the studio, we got in contact with Vintage King Audio at the time, and they were currently brokering the desks, and we said, okay, this would be a nice addition to our already existing vintage gear we have. And so the whole thing started with the Caribou Ranch desk. We have it in Studio B2. We're using it more or less for pre-production, so it's being used for vocal recordings, and for smaller productions that it is, of course, a desk out of a time where you could use 24 channels and really a cue system that is mono. And so the facility it is offering is, of course, not up to what we would use nowadays, but it has a really nice sound, and that's what it's all about. It's the vintage tone you can immediately hear when you put signal through this desk, and you will love it.
Do you have any plans for the future you want to talk about?
Oh yes, of course. Of course, we are happy to work together with Acustica Audio on the sides of being digital and offering plugins. And we have plans to do some more great plugins, hopefully in the near future. We have a very successful plugin which is called Charlie. This was one of the first plugins we offered when we started our collaboration with Acustica Audio. And it is going to be pimped, so to say, in a very nice version that offers more flexibility in changing characteristics of the sound. And we hope to get that soon to the market. And yes, we're looking forward to the new technologies Acustica Audio is working on and offering already with the new way of sampling reverberation and rooms and monitoring systems and you name it. So we're really looking forward to what's coming up next and to develop new products together soon.